You're watching a More Beautiful World podcast with Susan Renee, a channel for those of you with open minds and courageous hearts who are looking for guidance on your trauma healing and personal transformation journeys. Here, I share with you the powers of intentional plant medicine use, along with other holistic therapies and spiritual guidance to guide you on your path forward. I'm so eager to share with you what I've learned in working with these sacred plant medicines on my own journey, including the knowing that what we do to heal ourselves, we do to heal the whole collective. Join me as I share my experiences, knowledge, and wisdom to guide your trauma healing so you can transform your life, and so that together we can create the more beautiful world we all know is possible. Well, hello and welcome to another episode of A More Beautiful World. And in today's episode, I'm going to share with you how to empower your prayers. Throughout this episode, we're going to talk about what a prayer practice is, why you don't need to be religious to have a prayer practice, the difference between meditation and prayer practice, and of course, ways to make a prayer practice a part of your daily life. And with that, we're going to talk about ways to empower your prayers so your dreams and all that you desire can become your reality. So whether you're new to a prayer practice or you're looking to deepen your prayer practice and learn ways to really empower your prayers with a little more universal magic, then this episode is for you. A quick ask before we dive into this episode. If you are one of my listeners out there on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please drop me a rating or a review. I would really love to know what you think of this pod, and also that helps me support this podcast and gets these messages out more into the world. So make sure you follow the pod while you're there too. And for those of you watching me on YouTube, remember to like this video, drop a comment if you feel so called, and subscribe for more. So, as we talk about empowering your prayers, I'm going to give a quick, short disclaimer because there are many different types of prayer practice out there. And I am not here today to say that this is the right way or the only way to do a prayer practice. Okay, this is simply what I have been taught. This is what I have been guided to. And this is what I practice myself that has actually been quite effective in my life as well. So just know there is not one right way to pray. Though again, as I have experienced it, there are certain qualities to a prayer practice that really can empower your prayers, which is what we're going to talk about today. So let's kick off this pod with talking about what is a prayer practice. And as I have come to learn and experience it, prayers are when you are talking to God, the universe, source, creator, spirit, quantum field, whatever you would like to call this great higher power that connects us all with its magic. So simply put, a prayer practice is making time to regularly communicate with this energy, this source, this spirit. Personally, I want you all to know I use all of these phrases interchangeably throughout, be it God, universe, source, creator, spirit, quantum field, great energy. So just know and understand, and please take no offense as we go through this podcast. If one of these words is a little triggering for you, I mean, no harm. I just believe that they all can be used interchangeably and all carry the same energy, which is the energy of creation. It's this quantum energy field. So I know because I was born and raised Catholic, I used to relate like prayer to just a religious practice only. And as I even started meditating, I thought like meditation was, when you were spiritual, like, right, like spiritual people meditated and religious people prayed. And with all of the unhelpful conditioning I experienced from the Catholic religion, I had really shied away from any sort of prayer practice because, again, I had a lot of negative experiences in that religion, and I equated the prayer with the religion. And I know many of you out there have also turned away, from religion in some way, shape, or form. Maybe you have some negative beliefs around it, and therefore you might have some negative beliefs around prayer. Which is part of the reason I did want to do this episode, because with that, as we start this episode, and think about really a prayer practice and talking to this great energy source, right? Talking to the universe, I'm going to invite you to really let go of any negative beliefs that you may have around the prayer, religious dogma aspect of prayer, and really just open your mind, open your heart to the power that prayers can have without being used in a religious context. I know for me personally, once I made this shift and really reclaimed the power of prayer for myself, it liberated my spirituality and has helped me on my trauma healing and my personal transformation journey. So, a quick little story to get us started, which is how I came to reclaim my power of prayer. And this is when I started going back several years ago now to Unity of Phoenix Spiritual Center down when I was living in Phoenix. And they always used to say, as they were kicking off their sermons, that prayer is when you talk to God and meditation is when you listen to God. And it was the first time in a more spiritual context that prayer was brought in. And Unity of Phoenix really believes, and all of the Unity churches really believe in affirmative prayer, creating positive prayers. And this resonated with me. And it really started to make a lot of sense to me that you could do both as part of a spiritual practice. But what I had come to realize in my own timing with going and attending these services at the spiritual center, I realized I was doing a lot of listening to Creator, to the universe, and I was not doing a lot of talking to the universe at all. And again, both prayer, talking to God, right? Meditation, listening to God, they are a way for us to connect to the power and the presence of, source, of the creator. And having both aspects in our spiritual practice can be a wonderful way to really strengthen our relationship with this source energy, and ultimately to, again, reclaim our sovereignty and really step into becoming the creator of our own lives and the captains of our own destiny. So I believe, and as I have experienced and felt, that we are all truly unique, divine expressions of this source, of this God, of this universal energy, and that we really are this divine energy embodied and expressed in human form. With that, I believe we are always connected to it because we are a part of it. We are always connected to it. And so we have the ability to communicate with it, both by listening and talking to it. And in this communication, this dialogue that we can have with the source energy really can help us navigate our healing and our transformation journeys. So prayer, right, is the aspect of talking to this source energy. And now that we know what a prayer practice is and a little bit more about how it differs from the meditation practice, and we also have talked, right, a little bit more about how deeply we are connected to this energy and we do have the ability to pray to it. let's talk about how to start a prayer practice and really how to empower our prayers so we can talk and listen, right, as well, but really communicate powerfully and effectively with this energy source. So I'm going to start off today with some foundations of a prayer practice and build into how we can bring in some additional qualities, some additional practices to really empower our prayers. So, for my beginners out there, start with the first few tips that I get into. I've kind of put these from foundation into a more experienced prayer practice setup. So, for those of you, again, that are just getting started, maybe start with the first few practices I share, set a good foundation for your prayer practice, and then you can build over time. And for those of you already out there who have a prayer practice, make sure you have set a good foundation, that you've done these first few things that I'm going to talk about. And then you can build in these additional practices to really further empower your prayers. The first thing we're going to talk about is that all of this starts with belief. You have to believe in the power of prayer. So if you are new to this practice and you aren't even really sure about how, if prayers all work, start working on cultivating your belief by opening your heart and opening your mind. I truly believe and feel like I have experienced the fact that we are walking prayers. We are walking energy fields of magnetic attraction. And as we walk out in this universe, in this 3D physical reality, our physiology, our energy, our magnetism, out in this world does go out in this quantum field. And it looks for our prayers that we put out there to be answered. So you need this belief. You need to cultivate this belief that you are a part of this field. You are existing in this quantum energy field, and that you are divine, and that this quantum field and all that is really is unfolding exactly and perfectly as it is meant for you and your journey. A bit more on cultivating belief. Right? Prayers are not going to work if you feel too embarrassed by your prayers or if you feel unworthy of receiving your prayers. We do have to be an energetic match for our prayers. So we must be able to have the belief that the prayers we are saying can come true. So as you are working to cultivate your belief, remember to keep some things with your prayer practice realistic. Don't go praying, for you to become a millionaire, the next day, right? Unless, of course, if that's something you truly believe that can come true, go for it. But ultimately, keeping your prayers realistic, keeping them in alignment with where you're at, making sure you are an energetic match for your prayers is going to help you cultivate the belief. And if you start with maybe a small prayer that you really do believe in and you really feel and know can become true, once you see that magic manifest in your life, that starts to build momentum in cultivating this belief that prayers work and that prayers can be answered and that your prayers can come true. So it begins with belief. And once you have belief, the next thing I want to remind you all in this foundational set of prayer practice is remember that it is a practice. So a practice means you are doing it regularly and that you need to stick with it. And recognize, prayer really is about practice. It needs to be done daily. So I encourage you all not to hold any expectation that a once and done prayer is going to accomplish your desire. There's actually something very special and very magical about doing 40 days of prayer and praying, on at least a similar or same thing, a same ask, the same prayer for 40 days, which I'm going to talk about more deeply here in this podcast. But for now, remember that having the belief in prayer and being willing to put it into a daily practice is imperative because, again, it is a prayer practice for a reason. So the number 3 thing we're going to talk about, and really this is in setting a healthy foundation for your prayers, is that remember to focus on affirmative prayers, which means keep them positive. This goes into really the power of the law of attraction because we do attract what we think about and what we are saying out into the universe. So we want to think about and say things and talk about positive things with the universe. Again, we want to make sure we're putting out these positive energies, these positive thoughts, so we bring in positive experiences. Right? The medicine man that said to us in our prayer workshop, which, by the way, didn't say that yet. A lot of this is not only from my own personal experience, it's also from my personal medicine journeys and being guided with some deep knowledge and deep wisdom, from some of my elders and my mentors. And so one of them is a medicine man. At a recent ayahuasca ceremony, we had a prayer workshop. And he said in our prayer workshop that more misery has been caused by answered prayers than unanswered ones. And that really hit me because what that means is praying about negative things or praying in a negative manner will bring misery. Instead of like these true, positive, powerful transformation in prayers being answered. So be careful, right? What you wish for. And again, I think that comes back to keep your prayers affirmative, keep them positive. And in tandem with that, I would say, make sure you are creating your prayers out of love and not out of fear. Because the moment you start creating your prayers out of fear means they aren't going to be in alignment with your highest self, with your loving divine nature. And therefore, they're not going to come true. So keep them positive, create them out of love, and ultimately know that that is how the law of attraction is going to help work your prayers into, a prayer to becoming your reality. So my next tip here for you on empowering your prayers is really keeping prayers simple, yet also defined. So there's kind of this like sweet spot. There's this like Goldilocks, sweet spot to find in creating your prayers. So when you are creating them, you do want to keep them simple. You don't want to have like novels and novels you need to like read through every single day to recite your prayers. But you do want to be able to define the outcome of your prayers and get specific and crystal clear on the exact details of what you do want, bringing even in some of the very minute details. And you also want to make sure you include I and me in your prayers and stay away from abstract statements when you're stating your prayers. So again, you can keep them simple, keep them in the I form, me, I desire, I want this to happen to me or come into my life, right? Define them. Again, keep them a bit simple. Don't get too complex and don't get too abstract either. And also in this, as you are defining your prayers and keeping them simple and yet getting, specific, remember that everyone else out there will benefit from your prayers being answered. So you can let go of any feelings of selfishness because we do live in an infinitely abundant universe. And your prayers being answered and saying, I desire $5,000 in the next 40 days, right? That does not take away anything from anyone else's prayers being answered. Again, this is an infinitely abundant universe. So your prayers being answered will not take away from others. In fact, your answered prayers will actually empower more prayers to be answered. So keep that in mind as you define your prayers. You keep them simple. You focus on the outcomes that you desire. and get specific while keeping it simple. The next thing we're going to talk about is creating some ceremony and ritual around prayers. So this is when maybe we're stepping it up a little bit to some of these more empowering your prayer practices. So I'm going to invite you to really look at how you can create some ceremony or ritual around your prayer. Now, when I say ceremony and ritual, this is like going beyond doing it daily, going beyond the actual practice of prayer. But, ritual is really kind of doing the same thing, right? Ritual is like this repetition you're bringing in. And ceremony is bringing in kind of some like sacred aspects to this ritual. So, as you are thinking about getting into a prayer practice, consider repeating a prayer, a mantra, a medicine song that opens up your prayer practice. Maybe even just a positive affirmation. Because this repetition of the prayer, of the mantra, of the medicine song, of the affirmation will begin to program your cells to receive the vibration of your prayer. So it's a really beautiful thing when you can bring in, some aspects of ceremony and ritual, because this is where we begin to reprogram your cells. Cool, fun fact on reprogramming your cells. So we are energetic beings. And your body needs the vibration of your prayer to become magnetic to the universe so that your prayers can come true, right? So that law of attraction can work and draw these prayers to you. So when you think about, repeating a mantra, repeating a prayer, repeating, a medicine song, an affirmation to kind of open your ritual, remember you are programming your cells to receive the vibration of your prayers. You're becoming more magnetic. And even deeper, what is happening here is that you are changing the vibration of your blood, of the water in your body. You are working with your blood, with your water, with your beautiful physical and physiological technology. And that is key to creating really to making your prayers come true. Because your blood, it hears everything. Your blood is mostly water. And if you want to do some deeper work or some deeper research on this topic, you can go into Dr. Masaru Emoto's work on the consciousness of water, because the power of our words, the power of our thoughts can reprogram water. And since we are mostly water and our blood is mostly water, we can actually reprogram our own blood, our own water in the body because it hears everything. So you want to have love for your blood, for your water, and speak to it with love in your ceremony, in your ritual of prayer. And it is, again, this ritual, this repetition that is allowing for the reprogramming. It is a very powerful way to empower your prayers, and even more than that, to embody your prayers. So a little more to come on that here shortly. But again, it is creating this ritual, this ceremony that you are inviting in, with your mantra, with your medicine song, with your affirmations. You are inviting in the energy of reprogramming your vibration, reprogramming your blood, your water, and becoming more magnetic so that your prayers can come true. So next step is meditation. I feel like you can't talk about meditation without prayer. You can't talk about prayer without meditation. So meditation actually does allow you to pray more effectively. And the way I want to talk about it here, because I have full episodes on meditation, but using meditation to design your prayers. Because when you can get into that blissful, joyful state in meditation and have, your Kundalini energy like moving through you and really be open to receiving downloads from the universe, from source, you can get guidance on your prayers and what you do want to manifest and what you do want to create, in your visions from meditation. So creating your prayers out of this joyful state, right? Creating prayers out of these meditative states make for the best prayers. And learning to meditate, and improving your meditation practice so that you can really pray even more effectively and design your prayers more effectively. That is when you really can change your vibration, to magnetize your prayers and really allow the universe to conspire with you to deliver your prayers to you. So again, I think a key there that I want to say, because we could go off like all day about meditation, a key I want to say there is make sure you are using meditation to design your prayers, and make sure you are designing your prayers in joy, which again, meditation is used to bring you into that joyful state. So using that as powerful in designing your prayers. So, my next tip here is include the action that you are willing to take when you are designing your prayers. So, as you are creating a prayer, make sure your prayer includes something that you will do to make your prayer happen. Now, what's interesting to note here is you do not have to have your prayer and action directly tied together. So, as an example, let's say you're praying for $5,000 to come in this month. Your prayer doesn't have to be, I'm praying for $5,000 to come in this month. And to make it happen, I'm going to work 8 hours a day, Monday through Friday. They don't have to be directly tied together. It could be something as simple as, I am, praying that I have $5,000 come into my bank account this month, and I'm going to drink my tea every single morning, offering gratitude to the money that's already in my bank account. Okay, and maybe that's even still closely tied together. Maybe you drink your tea every morning and you give gratitude to being alive. Okay, the action and the prayer don't necessarily have to be directly linked, but you do have to take some action. So I'll talk a little bit more about the action I've been taking in my prayers. But ultimately, make sure in your prayer you say that you're willing to do something. You're willing to tell your cat or your dog that you love them every day, or your kids, whatever it is. Put in some action, which is how the universe can almost kind of like hold you accountable for keeping your vibration in that prayer space. So the next thing I'm going to talk about with empowering your prayers is to do group prayers. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean you have to always be in person with others praying at the exact same time. You can have friends or family members out there that maybe are praying with you in person. But if that can't happen every day, creating a sacred time that you all are praying together. Or just know that the quantum field doesn't really care about time and time space and linear time. So just simply know that I am praying with you. And so is my medicine family. We are in the field. We are working with you to elevate your prayers, to our Creator, to Great Spirit. There are many, tribes out there. There are many populations. There are many groups of people out there praying for us every single day. And know that you are never praying alone. So whether you are creating time with a partner, a spouse, a child to do prayer work, if you are just creating time with your bestie to show up at 8 a.m. every day to do prayers, even though maybe you're far from each other, or just sinking into the knowing that you are praying in a group. Because when we acknowledge and feel the connection of praying with others, that actually amplifies our prayers and it makes them even more powerful out in the universe. So know that we are there. We are working with you. We are in the field with you. And we are all doing the work to elevate our prayers to the quantum, to Great Spirit. And doing that together does help the greater good of us all. So the next thing I want to talk about is praying as a celebration. So in your prayer practice, make sure you are excited and that you desire to pray. Don't ever go into your prayer practice seeing it as a burden or another thing you've got to check off your to-do list. So again, make sure you are praying in celebration, in excitement, with a true desire to be there and to be showing up for your prayers. With this, with this energy of praying as celebration, I also invite you to make sure you are celebrating all the successes that come in, be them big or small, especially if they are tied to your prayers. So again, let's say I've used this example a few times in this podcast. Let's say you're, asking for $5,000 to come in this month. When $50 comes in, when $500, comes in, you celebrate that. And you celebrate that prayers are being answered, even if it's not all coming in at once, right? Even if it's on its own journey to coming to fruition, celebrate those successes. So again, make sure you are praying as celebration, going into prayer in celebration, going into prayer, eager for your prayer work, and also celebrate the prayers, big and small, that are being answered, the pieces of prayers that are being answered. Make sure you're bringing celebration to that for yourself. Now, I want to quick talk about this 40 days of prayer practice, because there is something I want you to really remember around how special 40 days of a consistent prayer practice is. So there is a kind of special thing that happens at 40 days. So we talked about, prayer has this ability to change your blood, right? You can reprogram the water in your body, the blood in your body. And in 40 days of prayer, or in 40 days in general, really, in 40 days just in life, 1/3 of your blood turns over and renews. So if you work in prayer practice for 40 days and you bring in the ceremony, the ritual, you're reciting mantra, you're reciting your prayers, you're reprogramming for those 40 days, you are actually reprogramming your blood, your water. And what's really cool in that 40 days where you hit the 1/3 of your blood renewing, so you've now reprogrammed 1/3 of your blood, this is a sweet spot, because when you have 1/3 of your blood renewed, that can actually start to reprogram the rest of your blood. So it's kind of like a tipping point. And there are a lot of things out there you can read into about white tantra magic and kundalini practices that go on like these 40-day journeys, because again, there is reprogramming that happens with a consistent 40-day practice. There are even a lot of stories out there from our sacred texts about the magic that can happen in 40 days. But what you need to take out of this, and what you need to hear right now, is that your body needs to hear your prayers for 40 days. It's a magical number. So keep going. Set little milestones in your phone at 7 days, 14 days, 21 days, whatever it is, and remind yourself to keep going, because that 40 days is a magical sweet spot to reprogram your blood, reprogram your body, and allow that to start to reprogram the rest of your being. Okay. A quick little bit on altar setup. I think for your prayer practice, it's very important you have an altar. Create a sacred altar space that is just for you, that is just about your electromagnetic energy. So it doesn't need to be displayed out to everyone or have other people's energy, put into it, because this is the space where you are working to alchemize your prayers into reality. And remember, alchemy means transformation. So this is where, you are really making a special and sacred place to influence the alchemical process of taking your desires, your prayers, and bringing them into reality. A few tips on creating an altar. having some altar cloth with natural fabric down, bringing in all 5 elements to be represented, things like the earth, the air, water, fire, and ether. You can bring in some seeds to bring in the light of the sun. You can bring in some cleansing herbs and plants such as yerba santa, sage, sweetgrass, palo santo. If you have mullahs, you can bring your mullahs to your altar to charge, charge overnight, charge when you're praying. There are stones that you can bring in to rub together, because when you rub stones together, they emit ions and it reminds you of alchemy. And you can smell, the alchemical process happening. You can bring in feathers. You can bring in fruits to the altar and eat afterwards to take in your prayers. Right after you've prayed with the fruit, you can take it away and eat it and take in your prayers. It can be difficult to do all these things, and I'm trying to keep this podcast a little on the shorter side for you all today. Ultimately, make your altar space something that resonates with you, something that feels sacred to you. And it is challenging to do all of these things on your first go with an altar. So if you can't do it, just visualize that they're there, right? Visualize that you have all of the elements represented. And ultimately, if it feels good for you, it means it's good for the prayer practice. So quickly, let's just put it all together a little bit. So how do we prepare ourselves for prayer practice? I would say you pick a dedicated time for your prayer. Start with some sort of little mantra or a quick prayer, some sort of chant, any opening ritual that you want in front of your altar, right? Create a little ritual at your altar. I personally like to light 2 candles. I burn usually some sort of cleansing herb or cleansing plant, some Palo Santo, some sweetgrass, and then I chant Om to kind of open up my prayer practice. From there, you want to get into a breathing rhythm. You can simply count your breath and just kind of calm yourself, bring yourself into a nice calming space. And then you say your prayers. So again, remembering to keep them simple yet specific is important. You say your prayers, right? You work on reprogramming your blood. And then you sit in meditation after you said your prayers just for a few moments and let your mind go blank. Let your vibration adjust. Let your blood really sink in and receive the reprogramming of your prayers. And then make sure you do the action that you said you would take. Again, I told you I would share my action. After my prayer practice every day, I grab my mug of tea and I thank all of our sacred plant medicines. I thank our beautiful Pachamama, and I give thanks to all the elements here on this earth that are guiding me and supporting me and helping me on my journey. So every day I end my prayer practice with drinking my tea, offering gratitude to all the things I just mentioned. So again, doesn't necessarily relate directly to my prayers, but it is my action I take. So with that, as I believe it, my dear friends, going into a prayer practice really is allowing you to talk to the universe, which you are connected to and a part of. Remember that. And as you go into prayer practice and you're talking, you are clearly stating what you desire to the universe so it can conspire with you on making your prayers come true. And I deeply and truly believe that when you incorporate these practices that I shared today into your prayer work, you really begin the journey of reclaiming the power of prayer for yourself, which is going to open you up to make your prayers become your reality. So remember, if you want to turn your desires, your prayers into actual manifestations in your reality, you can do so by empowering your prayers, by setting a solid foundation of prayer practice and then building it over time. You really can empower your prayers. And with that, you will begin to see your prayers being answered as they come into your reality. But that is it for today's episode on empowering your prayers. I trust you will take this knowledge and turn it into your own wisdom as you integrate it and work to heal, from trauma and from the anxiety, and as you go forward on your healing and your personal transformation journeys. But okay, tribe, let's remember this is all about making the world a more beautiful place. And that begins with you. Because as you are working to better yourself and move through your healing and your transformation, you are beautifying our world. So I do hope you found this episode helpful. I always appreciate you being on your healing journey with me. And of course, if you need support on your journey as you're healing the trauma, or if you're preparing for any sort of plant medicine journey or you're integrating from a recent journey, make sure you grab your free clarity call with me below because I would be honored to guide you on your trauma healing and your personal transformation. But that is all for today, tribe. Until next time, mwah, much love to you all. Hey tribe, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the like button below and then click subscribe so you catch future episodes. And remember, I've got lots of free resources for you to learn about the powers of intentional plant medicine use in order to support your trauma healing and personal transformation journey. So make sure you check them out in the description below and help in making this a more beautiful world for us all. Thanks again for tuning in, tribe. And until next time, much love to you all.